On a cold April morning in 2019, a desperate call came to the emergency number. A father reported the disappearance of his 5-year-old son. Hundreds of volunteers mobilized. Helicopters flew over the region. Divers searched. Lakes. An entire community united in the search for a child who, according to the parents, had simply vanished during the night. But the tracking dogs told a different story. All scent trails led back to the same house. And when investigators discovered videos recorded by the parents themselves, showing scenes that would make police veterans cry, the truth came to light devastatingly. This was not a story of disappearance. It was something much, much worse. What you are about to discover goes beyond anything you could imagine. A story that began before birth and ended in an isolated field, 7 kilometers from home. A story that could have been prevented 17 different times, but which the system repeatedly failed to stop. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe now. Stories like this need to be told so we can protect other children. Andrew Freund Jr. came into the world on October 14, 2013, at Woodstock Hospital, Illinois, weighing just 2 kilos and 400 grams. But his entry into life already carried alarming signs. The needle marks on his mother's arms, Joanne Cunningham, 36 years old, told a dark story. Umbilical cord tests revealed the presence of harmful chemical substances in the newborn system. The baby spent his first days of life in chemical withdrawal, his small body shaking uncontrollably while receiving medication to ease the suffering. Child Protective Services intervened immediately, removing Andrew from the custody of his biological parents. During the first 18 months of life, Andrew lived with a cousin of his mother, where he experienced for the first and perhaps only time what it meant to be loved. He learned to walk, said his first words, adored puzzles and building blocks. His foster mother fell in love with the boy and ardently wished to adopt him. But the system had other plans. After the parents completed rehabilitation programs and parenting classes, the judge made the decision that would seal Andrew's fate: return him to the biological family in June 2015. The foster mother cried when handing over the boy, not knowing she was sending him into a nightmare. Initially, things seemed to be improving. The father recovered his license to practice law, both parents continued passing chemical tests, and Andrew was enrolled in daycare. Social services made 26 visits to the house over the following 10 months, finding no obvious signs of abuse. The case was officially closed in April 2016. But in the fall of 2017, everything began to crumble. The family lost the house due to tax debts, being forced to rent from the new owner for an amount they couldn't afford. The mother stopped working completely. The father's alcoholism worsened. More importantly, the mother began to isolate Andrew from the people who loved him most: his paternal grandparents and his former foster mother. The residence at Dole Avenue, number 94, transformed into something out of a nightmare. Animal waste, scattered and embedded in the wooden floor, created a sticky brown paste that stuck to bare feet. The smell of decomposition hung in the air like a dense fog. Rodent feces covered all surfaces in thick layers. Andrew's room became a true prison cell. On the outside of the door, the parents installed multiple locks, a chain with a padlock that jingled whenever Andrew tried to reach the handle from inside, plus a sliding bolt that creaked when closed every night. The window was screwed shut with multiple screws after Andrew tried to escape through it. Even the closet had a combination lock. The mattress where the 4-year-old slept was soaked with bodily fluids. The fabric had acquired a yellowish coloration and emitted such a strong odor that even experienced police officers wrinkled their noses when entering the room. Insects crawled over the pillow and blankets during the night. Often there was no food in the house for days. The refrigerator was empty or contained only alcoholic beverages and rotten food scraps that Andrew couldn't access. Austin, the older brother who had fled to his grandmother's house, told investigators that sometimes the only available food was white sweet marshmallows, which Andrew ate one at a time, very slowly, stretching each piece because he didn't know when the next meal would be. During the winter of 2017, a neighbor heard a child's voice screaming desperately from the house. "I'm cold! I'm cold!" The sound was so penetrating that the woman couldn't forget it. She approached the house and saw through the window 2 boys sitting in a running car in the cold, their breaths turning to vapor in the frozen air. On Halloween 2017, Andrew made his first silent plea for help. Neighbor Janelle Butler opened the door to costumed children and saw a boy completely wrapped in medical bandages. What initially appeared to be an elaborate mummy costume revealed itself to be an attempt to hide burns from boiling water that had been poured over him from head to toe. Under the bandages, Butler could see areas where hair had been torn out by the roots, leaving pink and inflamed patches on the scalp. The boy's face was covered with a thick layer of petroleum jelly, which was meant to hide burn blisters and scars. When she sweetly asked if he was a mummy, the mother casually explained that Andrew had accidentally spilled boiling water on himself. Andrew didn't say a word. He only looked at the neighbor with large brown eyes that contained not childish fear, but some kind of adult acceptance of pain. His gaze said more than any words. It was the look of a child who no longer believed anyone could help him. During the winter of 2017 and early 2018, several people witnessed clear signs of escalating abuse. Credit union employees, where the parents were regular visitors, noticed fresh bruises around Andrew's eyes, cuts on his lips, scratches on his hands. When they gently asked about the injuries, they always heard the same explanations. He fell down the stairs, hit the door, slipped in the bathroom. In March 2018, the mother was found unconscious in her car 64 kilometers from home, with fresh needle marks covering arms, legs, and neck. When paramedics brought her to the hospital, the staff immediately noticed strange bruises on Andrew's face and forehead. The doctor later remembered that the boy sat in the hospital hallway very quietly, barely moving. When he approached him, Andrew instinctively shrank back and covered his face with his hands as if expecting to be hit. This is not a normal reaction for a healthy child. Child Protective Services were contacted, but the social worker took more than a month to actually visit the family, giving time for the bruises to heal completely. When the investigation finally occurred on April 25, 2018, Andrew appeared clean and showed no visible signs of abuse. What investigators didn't know was that the mother was documenting her acts of violence against Andrew through videos recorded on her cell phone. In March 2019, she filmed a horrifying 2-minute video that became documentary evidence of systematic cruel treatment against a 5-year-old child. In the recording, Andrew is naked on a dirty mattress soaked with bodily fluids. His small body appears even smaller against the dirty, blood-stained mattress. White medical bandages are wrapped around his wrists and thighs, hiding deep wounds from ropes and beatings. His face is so swollen from blows that he is forced to hold a large ice pack over his eyes. The psychological violence captured in these recordings was perhaps even more devastating than the physical assault. In another recording made just 2 weeks before Andrew's death, he says, "I don't want anyone near me. I want to live alone. I don't want a family." For a 5-year-old to dream of solitude, this isn't being difficult. This is a cry for help from a soul that was almost broken. Solitude seemed the only possible salvation. The mother responded with calculated cruelty to cause maximum psychological trauma. "You don't have a family. Do you think your father is going to choose you over me and your brother?" On December 18, 2018, an incident occurred that should have saved Andrew, but the system once again failed him. The mother drove to the nearest Taco Bell parking lot and asked employees to call emergency services, claiming her boyfriend had stolen her prescribed medications and cell phone. When police arrived, they found Andrew and his 4-year-old younger brother in the back seat of the car. Despite December frost and temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius, Andrew was wearing only a thin diaper. His lips were already blue from the cold. There was an enormous bruise on his right thigh, the size of an adult's palm. When they entered the family residence to search for the alleged thief, even experienced police were shocked by what they saw. Child Protective Services investigator Carlos Acosta questioned Andrew directly at the police station. In his mother's presence, the boy, trembling with fear, claimed that the large bruise on his thigh came from the family dog putting its paw on him while watching the movie Polar Express. But when the doctor examined Andrew alone, away from his mother, he made a statement that should have immediately led to his removal from the family. "Maybe someone hit me with a belt. Maybe mom didn't want to hurt me." The doctor considered Andrew's statement extremely alarming and recommended that the boy be immediately questioned by specialists trained to work with child abuse cases. Instead, social worker Acosta made the decision that cost Andrew's life. He released both children back to the parents. What followed were the last 4 months of Andrew's life, during which the abuse reached unimaginable levels. Several witnesses later reported seeing increasingly serious injuries on the boy's body, almost weekly. On April 14, 2019, a Sunday, the last night of cruel treatment in Andrew's life occurred. He had hidden a dirty piece of underwear at the bottom of his closet, a normal reaction from a frightened and traumatized child who knew he would be brutally punished for any accident. The mother discovered the hidden underwear during one of her regular searches of Andrew's room and exploded in rage. She grabbed the boy by the hand and dragged him to the bathroom, turned on the water as cold as possible, and forced him to stand under the icy stream. The water was so cold that Andrew began to shake uncontrollably throughout his body. But the cold water was just the beginning. The mother grabbed the removable shower head, a heavy metal object with sharp edges and multiple holes, and began methodically beating Andrew's head. Each blow from this heavy metal shower head left characteristic circular marks on his forehead and caused bleeding that flowed into his eyes, mixing with the icy water. This cruel treatment continued for 20 interminable minutes. Andrew remained under the icy water, his small body convulsing from cold and pain, while blood from head wounds mixed with water and went down the drain. He begged for it to stop, but his pleas only enraged his mother more. At the end of this session, his lips were almost black from the cold, and deep circular wounds from the shower head appeared on his forehead. After 20 minutes, the mother turned off the water and ordered Andrew to go to bed. She didn't give him a towel, didn't let him change clothes. She put him to bed naked, wet and shivering from cold on the same dirty mattress soaked with bodily fluids. His small body, already weakened by months of systematic violence and chronic malnutrition, couldn't withstand this final assault. These injuries, received on the night of April 14th to 15th, proved fatal. The repeated blows from the heavy metal showerhead to the head caused Andrew's brain to begin swelling rapidly inside his skull. Somewhere in the dark hours of the dawn of April 15th, lying alone on a dirty mattress in his prison room, 5-year-old Andrew Freund's heart stopped forever. His final hours were filled with pain, cold, and terrifying loneliness. At 3 in the morning on April 15, 2019, someone in the house desperately searched Google, child CPR, how to give CPR to a baby. My baby isn't breathing. But it was too late. Andrew was already dead. Instead of immediately calling an ambulance or contacting police, the father made a cold and calculated decision. He carried his son's lifeless body to the basement and placed it in a large plastic storage container. For the next 3 days, Andrew's remains stayed in that container in the basement while his parents continued their normal routine as if nothing had happened. On April 17th, the father finally decided to dispose of the body. He moved his son's remains from the plastic container into several garbage bags, as if Andrew were just trash to be thrown away. He loaded the bags into his car's trunk and drove to a wooded area near Woodstock, about 11 kilometers from his house. There, he dug a shallow grave in the cold, damp earth and threw his little son's body there. The next morning, April 18th, the father made sure to visit his doctor at exactly 6:30 in the morning, specifically requesting documentation of his visit. This calculated move was designed to establish an alibi for the time period when he would claim Andrew disappeared. At 9 in the morning, exactly 3 days after murdering his son, the father called the emergency number to report Andrew is missing. His voice on the recording was strangely calm and distant, as he claimed to have last seen Andrew when he put him to bed the night before. The community immediately mobilized to search for the missing child. Hundreds of volunteers searched neighborhoods, parks, and wooded areas. Helicopters circled over the region while divers searched local lakes and ponds. Search and rescue teams worked 24 hours a day, driven by hope that Andrew might still be found alive. Meanwhile, his parents gave moving interviews to local media pleading for Andrew's safe return, knowing exactly where his body was. Their performances were strangely convincing, but underneath they knew the truth. Andrew would never come home because they had killed him. But trained search dogs cannot be deceived. All the scent trails they followed led back to the family house. indicating that Andrew had never left the property alive. When investigators focused their attention on the house, they discovered the true horror of Andrew's final years. When the parents were confronted with cell phone evidence showing searches for child CPR and a shopping list containing suspicious items like duct tape and cleaning products, their story began to crumble completely. On April 24th, after being shown the video showing Andrew's cruel treatment that the mother had recorded on her phone, the father finally gave in and confessed. He led investigators to the shallow grave where his son's body was wrapped, in plastic, discarded like trash in a field 11 kilometers from his house. The arrests shocked the community, but investigators soon discovered an even more horrifying detail. The mother was 7 months pregnant during Andrew's murder. The discovery of Andrew's body was a moving moment for everyone involved. Experienced police officers, coroners, and medical specialists, professionals who had seen the worst of human cruelty, wept upon seeing what had been done to an innocent 5-year-old child. The autopsy results confirmed the unthinkable extent of Andrew's suffering. The medical examiner, with 25 years of medical experience, testified that Andrew died from multiple blunt force trauma to the head, causing severe brain swelling and internal hemorrhaging. The nature of the injuries indicated prolonged, systematic cruel treatment, not a single incident of violence. During the investigation that followed, the full extent of systematic failures became clear. Child Protective Services had received multiple reports about Andrew's family since before his birth, but every investigation was closed as unfounded. Police were called to the family residence 17 times over 5 years, documenting horrible living conditions, evidence of chemical substance use, and concerns about the children's welfare. But no significant action was taken. Neighbors, teachers, bank employees, and family friends all witnessed obvious signs of abuse. But Andrew remained locked in his prison until it was too late. Andrew's story shows how systems meant to protect our most vulnerable can fail at the critical moment. Joanne Cunningham received 35 years in prison for first-degree murder. Andrew Freund received 30 years for involuntary manslaughter and concealment of crime. Social worker Carlos Acosta, who was supposed to protect the child, received 6 months in prison for negligence. A month later, on May 31, 2019, Cunningham gave birth to a daughter behind bars in the county jail. The baby was immediately placed in protective custody. Andrew's death had inadvertently saved not only his younger brother, but also his unborn sister from the same fate. Thousands of people attended Andrew's funeral wearing his favorite color, blue. His foster mother gained custody of his younger brother. The House of Horrors was demolished. If Andrew were alive today, he would be 11 years old. He could be playing soccer, building with blocks, learning in school. Instead, we remember a boy who simply wanted to live without pain. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss other important stories that can save lives. Leave in the comments your opinion about what measures society should take to prevent such tragedies, and suggest cases you would like me to cover. Your engagement helps spread awareness about these crucial topics. If you suspect child abuse, call the authorities. One call can save a life. Andrew's story must not be repeated.